Hey everybody, it's Eric Meyer, Chief Instructor, NASA Great Lakes. We're here on the NASA Great Lakes Beginner Data Acquisition Resource page. I had a lot of requests and emails and reached out to a couple new folks on this page, and they really like the value of the fact that this is a beginner page. So from here on December 19th, mid-December, we're going to stress more entry-level information, more foundational information, more information and posts that help people get going and learn. We're gonna kind of dumb them down because we had some creep or some drift in a lot of smart people sharing some wonderful information. If you'd like more detailed and more advanced information, I might suggest that you come down here. Our friend Matt Romanowski has created this page, and I would go there because there's a lot of advanced stuff. Um, don't think that if you're going to go here and you're brand new, you're going to learn faster. You're not. You're probably going to get smoked. Stay tuned to this page, and you'll learn some fundamentals and just get your feet wet. You might not necessarily become a pro driver overnight, but you'll slowly head toward learning all about these concepts of data acquisition. Special thanks to Anthony, who made this post right here that said, hey, before you start to evaluate and try to understand a chart or graph or squiggly lines, make sure you understand what each axis indicates. Some of the axes are based on time, others on distance. So we're going to jump right in. Presumably you already have Track Attack, and if you don't get it, there's 100 posts, YouTube posts that are in this playlist that will tell you how to do that. We're going to open a session right now and pretend that we just came off of the track. And that's because the number one thing I get asked right now is, hey Eric, would you help me? Let's pretend I just get off track. Would you help me look at my information? So we're going to do that. And in this case, we're going to be our friend Tom Podmore. Tom, thanks for the wonderful birthday gift. You rock. And we're going to do Tom at Mid-Ohio running a 154 Mid-Ohio full. Okay, we're going to open this file. Just going to do some basic simple analysis. What you see here is I have three graphs or three channels noted, and those three channels that we pulled up are the big three, and they're all GPS based. Most everybody will have these channels. Some of you might have device channels, additional device longitudinal acceleration and device lateral acceleration, but for this case we're just pulling up these three. Everybody's got these three. These are the big three, especially the speed trace. So we got our big three channels. We got our track map over here. We got our value channel over here, and if you're new to this values, you can double click on this right here, and whatever you want to put in here, you can put in here. Okay? So I always like to have distance, and I always like to have speed. And since I'm using these big three channels right here, I'm going to go ahead and add those values. And again, those are GPS lat and GPS long. And now you see them down in here. I like to not overpopulate this because you put too many channels on here and you get overwhelmed. As Anthony suggested before, let's take a look and understand the basic axes. This is the x-axis. In this case, it's distance. If yours looks weird and goofy, it might be because right here, this little clock, because it's in time mode. I'm going to recommend that you go to distance mode. Okay, distance mode right here. I'm also going to recommend that you use this button right here, this little I button. When you push it, it resets itself. This is a zoom in. This is a zoom out. And hit our I button. So we're just off the track. We've highlighted, or Track Attack has already noted our fastest lap right here, right now. I'm going to share a couple things right now that I see. Remember, you're just off track and you're looking at your data. And here's what I see. And this isn't a crush on Tom. This is just, we're looking at data, right? everybody's got to start this. Here's what I see. I see a 54.2, and the next closest lap I see is looks like to be a 56.5. So that's a pretty big gap in seconds. So automatically I know that there's a lot of variation in here, and that we can just go out and practice and practice and practice and start whittling this down. 2 minutes is 120 seconds, and we're talking about at least a 2, if not a 3-second difference in lap times. So Tom has a lot of variation to just go turn laps and work on some things. And we're here to point out a couple things that's going to reduce his variation, allow him to start whittling away at his lap time. So here's one of the first things I'm going to do. Again, we're in distance mode, right? And we're in our y-axis over here as the respective value. In this case, mile per hour, G's, right? Positive, negative, and we had our track map and our channels over here. So here's what I see. I generally like to go into the longest straight, which is right over here. Watch the cursor, right over here. And the longest straight and the braking zone after the longest straight. For newer drivers and new people to data acquisition, this is really good to go to because most people don't know what the heck their feet are doing. They have no idea. You're in the braking zone. You're going 103 miles an hour. The last thing you want to do is to jump on the brakes and look at your feet. And let me tell you what I see. I want to get you to look for the slope. And if you're taking notes or you have a good mental memory, when you look into a big brake zone, look at the slope. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I want you to see that there's a change in that slope right here. And this is pointed out nicely in Ross Bentley's Introduction to Driver Data Acquisition Seminar, which is a great investment. It's a great resource. It's a podcast that I think is about $60 that for a new person can watch again and again and again and again. Plus it's Ross, and he's really good. And he uses this Track Attack software. So here's what I see right here. I see a rate of deceleration that is somewhat gentle, and then it gets steeper, and this would indicate a more assertive braking from here on because it's more steep. You can actually see this right down here when we see the initial braking application, and then for some reason we're being more gentle, and then we go to a firmer application of the brakes right here. And I want you to see something. This peak spike right here, I want you to see where it's located. We're going to go right up here. So keep your eye right down here. Okay? Keep your eye where this Mickey Mouse hand is. And I'm going to put that right there. Right there. Now look above at the Mickey Mouse hand. That's really where this bend takes place. So that great deceleration rate right there happens to coincide with that bend. And I'll suggest to you that this tells me that that car can brake at this slope. It can brake at this rate. But for some reason, we're not using it right here. And the rule of thumb, or what I want you to think of when you're new and you're first looking at data is, once you go to brakes, especially in a longer braking zone, and especially if it's straight, you want to get really assertive and really jump on those brakes a lot. And in this case, what we can see is there's a somewhat timid, a little more timid application of the brakes right here, as noted in this braking rate of negative 0.6 Gs. And then for some reason, we know the car has a capacity to brake it darn near a full G, right? About 9/10 of a G. We don't do that until later, and that's actually kind of backwards of what we want. So here's what I would suggest to Tom. Tom, the next time you're on track, I want you to do something. I want you to make the initial part of the braking more assertive and look for greater brake pressure in here. We know, greater decel rates. We know the car can do it. I want you to be more efficient up here and jump on the brakes. And here's probably what he will notice. Assuming he's braking at the same spot, which is down here, which will be down here, I want you to keep your eye right down here in GPS distance. If he brakes at the GPS distance, the 5,849 foot marker, whatever point on the track, whatever that is, and he's more assertive right here, he's going to be done earlier. And he's going to have a couple options. And those options might be, and I'm going to point out a couple of my observation options. The driver might go, hey, I'm done earlier. I have a higher comfort level. I am not kind of cram everything down into the brake zone. I can breathe. I feel good. I feel positive. He's got a couple options. He can go, you know, next time I'm going to brake a little later. And I would say something like maybe a half a marker later, maybe creep up a quarter marker at a time, or about 25 feet. Just creep up on it. Don't try to get a big handful of stuff. Or better yet, I would suggest that brake at the same spot for Tom, looking at this data, and try to brake a little less. In other words, instead of braking down to 55 miles an hour right here, try to brake to 56 or 57 or 58 or 59 and come off the brake early. Remember, we're steeper in the brake zone. We got a couple options because a lot of time the lap time is how much you're not braking off. So if Tom can come through here at 56.7 or 57.7 or 58.7, his lap times are going to be lower. And that's all because he's being more assertive on the brakes initially instead of kind of gentle and then getting assertive. Okay, so that's one data point I would look at for a new person. Okay, we're going to continue down here because I looked at this data earlier and I saw some stuff. So for Mid-Ohio, we're going to look right here. And why? Because I saw something kind of goofy, and quite frankly, just look in your data and start trying to understand stuff. I'm going to tell you what I see right here. Remember, we have GPS speed, we have longitudinal, which is backwards and forwards, right? Lower means braking, positive is accel. And I saw something right here. I saw something kind of goofy right here. And I thought to myself, this would indicate I'm on the throttle, I'm on the brakes, I'm back to throttle, I'm on the brakes. Does that make sense? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. On the throttle coming through here, I go to brakes, I go back to throttle, and I go to brakes. Kind of sent a red flag to me. So we can see this in the longitudinal channel in the form of negative longitudinal G's or deceleration, a rate of deceleration. And what we see right here is where the speed line goes down happens to correspond with some squiggly lines underneath this black zero reference lines, which quite frankly says the car is braking. And if we think about this and go, what's going on right here? I'll suggest to you that with a little bit of knowledge that I have about Mid-Ohio, it's probably because of the line. He's probably just rocking in through here, and we're going to confirm that. So I put this data in GPS mode. I'm zooming in a little bit. And even though this line might be off a little bit and shifted one way or another, what I see right here is Tom is charging straight in through here. And if we look at where the braking starts right here, he's coming in and he's going, you know, I don't feel really comfortable. I need to go to the brakes right here. Right? He's going to the brakes right here. Look over at the track map. Here's where he begins his braking, his deceleration. And he decels right to here, and then he goes back to throttle. Can you see that? That's what his feet are doing. Let me show you that again. Right here he says, for whatever reason, and I'm suggest to you because he's driving it straight in here, he's probably going, you know, I'm going a little too fast. I need to get more comfortable, so I'm going to brake a little bit. I feel better now. I feel really good. So I'm going to go back to throttle, and then there's another braking point again. Well, here's what I see. As I look at his line right here, get out of here. As I get out of here, get out of here. As I look at his line right here, what I see is a really straight shot through here. It's almost a straight line, and I'll suggest to Tom and to others that if this is you and it feels a little hairy, start taking the car to the left. And do you see that other curbing right there? There's a lot of folks that use that. There's a lot of folks that start taking the car and driving it to the left and come around this corner, and they're more comfortable. Tom, you might want to try that. You might want to try that and see if you don't have to brake, and that you can you can carry more speed through here to your braking zone. Because right here we're not only lifting, but we're braking. Do you see that? So we got 2 action items thus far, right? And I'll suggest to you one of them is track related, or line related, which is right here. So is allow him to practice and go faster, right? He's going to come over here over this blind crest and go, keep the wheel in the car, keep the wheel in the car, keep it left, and then come around to the right, right? So that's line related. And the other thing is foot or brake related, which is I want to be more assertive in high-speed braking zones. And chances are, it's been my experience that Tom might just be, or this driver might just be, not super confident in high-speed braking zones. So this might appear in other places like Audubon, Road America, NCM, Gingerman. So I would look in his other data to say, does this exist as well? Does this trend of being gentle on the brakes and being more firm exist? Because if so, he gets to change this one habit with his feet, and he gets to benefit at all those tracks. He's gonna change his driving style as it relates to high-speed braking zones. Okay, 2 action items right there, and then this one right here, this line. We're going to change this line. So there you go. There's a quick analysis that allows Tom some action items to go work on and come back and whittle some of this variation away, so he starts having less 56s and 57s and more 54s and 55s. Because there's a lot of variation right here. And one of the things you'll notice when you get data acquisition is your range of lap time differences, or your variation, will start to drop down. And when it does, give yourself a high five, give yourself a pat on the back, go have that dessert at dinner afterwards, go have that beer and celebrate, because that means you're getting better. That's it. I'm Eric Meyer. Thanks for tuning in. Watch for more videos soon. Later.